Hello everyone, my name is Beth and this is my Flosstube channel, Busy Bee Stitches. Welcome to the first regular Flosstube update of the year. I have a big stack of stitching progress that I'm really excited to show you. But before we jump into it, introducing my brand new filming spot. I'm actually sitting in a chair. I'm so excited. I finally did some cleaning, cleaned out this corner of the room. So you just have a blank yellow wall behind me. I'm hoping to actually get some stuff up on the wall so that there's a little bit more interest going on up there, but at least I can sit and not fall over. So yay. All right, so how did my January stitching go? Well, I worked on 15 projects, which I think is great. And I stitched on 24 days in January. I stitched for 63 hours in January and almost 9,000 stitches. So I'm feeling really good about that. I think I had a little bit more extra stitchy time than I usually do in a month, and so yeah, I'm excited about that. I started 3 projects and I finished 5 projects, and some of those were starts and finishes. So what that amounted to was that I started the month with 36 whips and I finished the month with 34. So the downward trend, loving it. So let's jump right in to actually looking at my progress. I'm going to change the flow of my videos a little bit. At least, you know, we'll see how I like it. I used to format my videos in like finishes, starts, and whips. And I have a new way that I'm tracking my stitching time, and I would love to share it with you guys. I'm still figuring it out a little bit, so I want to wait until I know how I'm using it and how I like it before I share it with you, and then I'll probably do a video just on that in, you know, a few weeks or so. But it's providing me a really awesome visual for how much I work on my different projects. So we're gonna go in order of the amount of work on that I got on each project. So the project that I worked on the most in January is Natural Beauty by Mistigri, and this is, sorry, hair is going everywhere. This is what it looks like. She's absolutely stunning. I got this as a kit that I bought from France, and all the instructions are in French, not too difficult to translate, but I think that's fun. And so it's on a printed fabric, and here's my progress so far. So I don't know if you can tell, but all of this is printed, and then this is what I've stitched. So if you follow me on Instagram, you will have seen the progression of this project this month, because for a while there, the more I worked on her, the more demonic she looked, because I hadn't done her eyes yet. But now I've done her eyes and she looks much better. So the back stitch I think will make it even cooler, but now that I've done all of the crosses, I think she's starting to look really, really cool. I'm really excited to get into her hair, but I do think there's gonna be quite a bit of backstitch involved in that to make it like really have the full effect. I also want to point out something kind of random on this project, that I was kind of not enjoying working on it for a while, and I realized, one, it's because I hadn't scanned in the chart from the paper version, because the chart is too big for my scanner. So I was working off of the paper, which I don't like doing. I finally was able to like scan it through an app where you can just like point your phone at it, and it doesn't do the best quality, but it's a lot better than working off the paper for me. So that really helped a lot. And then the other thing is that I was using the needle that came in the kit. It was a gold needle, and I think it's a size larger than what I'm usually used to. I think it's a size 24 needle, and I switched to using, see, this one is like, I stitched a lot, so it's getting like really tarnished and gnarly, but I don't know if you can tell how much thinner that needle is, but switching to the thinner needle has made working on this fabric so much less painful. So that was a really smart move. And this project is kitted up with yeah, it's Aurifil floss, which is cotton, I believe. It's a multi-stranded cotton. Let me show you an example. So, I mean, it's just a multi-stranded cotton, but it definitely feels a lot different from DMC. It almost feels like a really, really thin pearl cotton, but I'm enjoying it. I think it's interesting and different. So I worked on this project for my whip rotation. So because I started that project in 2020, my goal on it was 1,000 stitches, and I did meet that. So I worked on that for about 10 hours in January. Next up, I worked on this project for almost 9 hours. This was also in my whip rotation, and my goal was to work on this for 1,000 stitches because I started it in 2020. Both of these were 2021 starts. Sorry, my bad. So this is Up All Night by Tiny Modernist, and I did not get the 1,000 stitches because first I finished it. So I think this is lovely. I think it actually took, it might have taken a few more than the 1,000 stitches, but I was so close that I just decided to finish it, now that I'm remembering. And I did this on a piece of 20 count Purple Passion Aida. And this was, I think, my first time using 20 count, and I'm obsessed. I love it. I think it's awesome. This project was so fun. Next, oh yeah, this was not for my whip rotation. This was for my, lack of a better name, my do stuff rotation. If you saw my, my plans for the year, I'm doing a rotation of things that are not cross stitch or cross stitch adjacent, to get myself out of my comfort zone and doing more types of crafts and activities. And so one of the things on my list was to work on specialty stitches. So I pulled out Pineapple Welcome by Jeanette Douglas. This was a 2020 start, I think. I think this was a 2020 start. So this is my progress on it. So for this rotation, I don't have like a specific number of stitches that I'm trying to get or anything, because a lot of these aren't even cross stitch. I just worked on this until I felt like I had put in a good amount of progress, specifically on the specialty stitches. So this pineapple and this pineapple are both specialty stitches. I'd already done the yellow part on this pineapple, and so I needed to pick new DMC colors for the greens, and so I did that, and I worked on some of that in order to be able to count over to the different to the pineapples next to it. And then I worked on this pineapple, which is specialty stitches, and I don't know if you can tell, it's like, it's a type of satin stitch. The name of the stitch is in the chart, and I don't have it up in front of me to tell you, but it's very similar to a satin stitch. And And then because I was enjoying this project and didn't want to put it down, I also did this pineapple, which is just cross stitch. So that's my progress. There's 2 more pineapples to do, and only one of them is specialty stitches. And then all of the greenery, of course, and then underneath it says welcome. So still got probably about half of this project left to go, but I'm feeling really good about the progress that I made. And loving the specialty stitches. I cannot recommend Jeanette Douglas highly enough, especially if you have not done specialty stitches before and you're interested. A project like that is super approachable. It's not super complicated. It's not hard to read. It's not scary. She like charts out really clearly how to actually do the specialty stitches, so it's not like you have to know what a road stitch is. And I can't recommend her charts highly enough. I absolutely love this pattern. Next, I'm dropping things. Next, in my whip rotation, I pulled Gender Rules by Dirty Cuss Stitch, and my goal was 1,000 stitches because this was a 2021 start. And this is another one that I was able to pull out and finish. And I did this on the fabric that I got in the Rainbow Stitches box from the Black Needle Society. It's called Hue by Fortnite Fabrics, and this is an Aida. And so that's my finish there. I absolutely love it. I think it turned out so cute. And I only used a small portion of this fabric, and I already know what I want to do with the bottom half. So really looking forward to getting that trimmed off so I can put that fabric into a new project. All right, then in my do stuff rotation, I spun, for some reason, I spun all of the like cross stitch adjacent things right away, which I was not intending. I have a lot of things that aren't even remotely cross stitch related in this rotation, and for some reason it like really eased me in into things that I know how to do. But so I pulled in that rotation working on a cross stitch project that had beads in it. And my intention for that is to actually work on something where I can actually work on the beads. So I had a project, I have a Mirabilia in my stash that that has beads in it, but I'm not even remotely close to working on the beads. And that doesn't really feel like it counts to me. So I decided to pull out a new start. I pulled out a Mill Hill, and this is what I did. And so it was a start and a finish for me. And I really wanted to pull out something that I could get to the beads quickly, and then not have lingering around in my whip pile for a long time. So I accomplished that, and I'm so happy with how it turned out. It's so cute and very sparkly with all the beads. I really like it. That only took me about 5 hours to do. Next, also right around 5 hours for a start and finish. This, I started just because I felt like it. I watched Monty Python with my brother. It's one of our favorite movies, and I've had this in my stash for a long time, and so I just decided to pull it out. This is The Knights of Knee, and it was very simple, only 2 colors, super easy. I can't say I enjoyed working on the stiff Aida. This is just like some remnant craft store Aida that I had in my fabric stash, and it was a huge pain in the ass. But I enjoyed this project so much, and I can't wait to have that finished and up on my wall because it makes me smile every time I look at it. also worked on, because I watched a movie with my brother, my brother had never seen the Harry Potter movies before, and which is just shocking based on how much of my childhood I spent consumed in that world. And so his girlfriend finally got him to watch it. What am I, chopped liver? And so he left the last two movies to watch with me, which was really sweet. So I brought over some easy Harry Potter stitching to work on while we watched. And for me, that is Quidditch jumpers. So here's that progress. So I've been working on the Hufflepuff sweater here. Oh, hold on. I've been working on the Hufflepuff sweater here. And this is easy counting, easy fill in. And it's just deceptively a lot of stitching. It looks small, but this is 40 count, so it's actually quite a bit to do. So I just have to finish the Hufflepuff sweater and the stripe on the Gryffindor sweater. I didn't like the color that was charted, so I need to pick a different one. And then finish the brooms in the middle. I'm really, really, really hoping I can make this a finish this year. And it should still come up on my whip rotation, not counting that as having been called. I just worked on that for fun. Not that the rest of this isn't fun, but you know, I worked on it for no reason. All right, next I worked on the Animated Christmas Classics Sal by Story Stitches. This got pulled in my whip rotation, and since it was a 2022 start, I worked on it for 500 stitches. And so I believe I did the outline of Snow Miser. I can't remember if I had done that since the last time I showed you. And then I worked on Heat Miser. He's almost done, but I had run out of a color for him, and now I have it, but I haven't gone back to this project yet. This is one of the ones in my whip rotation that could come up again this year, so I'm kind of hoping that it will, because I really like working on it, and also having Heat Miser like partially done is really annoying me. Next in my do stuff rotation, I pulled working on something black work, and this is a really nice reintroduction back into black work after taking a little break when I finished the chessboard last year. And this project I started in 2019, and I hadn't worked on since I started it. Because I shifted gears in early 2020 to work on the chessboard as much as I could. So I made some pretty good progress here. I started in on the second row, and I finished this block and started on that block. This does have a little bit of February progress in it, and I may still work on it a little bit more at the time of filming this. My do stuff rotations are two-week stretches, and so I might pull this back out before the end of this week. I don't have to. Again, I don't have like a stitch count that I'm trying to get to on this, so if I don't get back to this, I'm still counting the goal as met. But if I could finish this third block here, I think that would make me really happy. So that's sort of a stretch goal for me. Now we're getting into things that I just worked on for like one day. I worked on my Harry Potter covers collage during the Harry Potter Stitch Together for this month. I wasn't on chat for very long, but I did pull this out and work on it for a little while. This is Harry Potter Covers Collage by Fox and Teacup. I am doing the unattributed version because I don't need the author's name displayed in my home. So that's how far I got. And I have been working on, what have I been working on? I think I've been working on like this section right in here. And I've just been working, I think it might be called the typewriter. I don't know what is happening with my hair today. I think people call it the typewriter method, where you just pick the color like next in the row at the top, and then stitch a full strand of it, or a stitch, you know, as far as you can down the page, and then pick the next color available in the top left or top right or whatever direction you stitch in. So that's what I've been doing on this project and really enjoying it. Next, I pulled out for just one day for Lynn X Stitch's birthday. Her birthday style was to work on something by Ink Circles, so I pulled out Half the Fun by Ink Circles. I'm doing this on a 40 count piece of Fortnite fabrics using an almond M&M silk. And here's my progress on that. What did I work on? I worked over in this corner over here. I am closing in on like a third of the way done, I think. Maybe a quarter of the way done. This project has been slow going for me because I tend to pick it up for just a day or two at a time. So I'm really looking forward to getting this called on my whip rotation so that I can actually like give it some concentrated love. It's a fun project because it's all monochrome, so it's not a lot of like thinking, but I do have like some interest, you know, capturing my attention because it's, you know, a little bit more complicated counting and everything. So I think it's a good balance. Next, we have my New Year, New Start. I have in my Stitching Goddess Designs New Year, New Start bag. This is called Icicles and Snowballs by, I can't remember the name of the designer. I'll put a picture here of what this will look like completed. And I'm doing this on a piece of Fiber on a Whim Silver Fox, and I bought this at Stitch New England when I was there over the holiday break. And that's the start that I got. So for only working on this for a day or two, I'm really happy with this progress. And I'm really looking forward to coming back to it. And I guarantee you this will not be the only chart in this series that I stitch, because I'm having a really good time stitching it. Next, I pulled out 100 Owls. Athena and I of Stitching Goddess Designs, we both have a birthday on the 14th of the month that we were born in. And so we like to take this project out because we started it together. So we like to take this project out and work on it on the 14th of the month. And I didn't do that a whole lot last year because things got a little crazy. But I'm back to doing that this year. And so I pulled this out to work on it. And I've been working on stretching this little bit over here. So I just have the corner left to do, I think, on that section. I'm looking forward to being done with that bit because I get bored of repetition, and I've already stitched that part on the other side. So I'm looking forward to getting that done so that I can stitch the new owls underneath. Next, for Fancy Lady Friday, which I stitch on for the first month, or the first Friday of the month, with some stitching friends, I pulled out my Mirabilia. This is the Mirabilia that I'm doing. I'm doing Silver Moon Tea, and fortunately right now it doesn't look like a whole lot because I'm just doing border and background. I have a little bit of moon, but again, that still feels like background because it's just some solid stitching with a couple of skips here and there for beads. But I feel like I'm finally like making real progress on this project. For a long time, it felt like I was putting in a handful of stitches every other month or so, and now I feel like I'm actually accomplishing something. So I'm also really looking forward to this project getting pulled in the whip rotation because so far I've only ever worked on this for like one day at a time, and I'm really excited to get a little bit more progress than that. Oh, that also had some February stitching in it too. That had my first Friday of the month for January and February. But chances are I won't get to film my February video until a few days into the month, so you may see it again next month with new progress, but for March. Who knows? And last but not least, at just only an hour worked on in January, but this was still a finish. I pulled this out because of how close it was to a finish. My hope was to finish this at the end of 2022. That did not happen. What did I say? Yeah, what year is it? I was hoping to finish it at the end of last year. I didn't quite get there, so on the 1st of January, I pulled this back out and finished it. This is No Notion by Lindy Stitches. This is a freebie, I think. I started it during the Jane Austen retreat with the Black Needle Society, and I'm really happy with it. It was really fun to stitch. I liked it a lot. And I'm really happy that it's not lingering in my whip pile with only a handful of stitches left on it, so that makes me happy to have it done. And I stitched it on like my favorite fabric ever. This is Picture This Plush Shale, and I have a ton of it left over. So I can't wait to find something else to put on this fabric because it's my favorite. I know I've mentioned this a million times, but it looks so gray on camera, and it's this like beautiful, rich, purpley taupe, dusty, purple, gray. Like, it's amazing. I love it. It's so pretty. If you don't believe me, just buy yourself a piece. You won't regret it. So those were all the projects that I worked on in January. I do have a couple of stash acquisitions to show you. So the first thing I grabbed, I don't know what made me think of the fact that I didn't have this. Probably when I was going through my whip parade and I pulled out my crab by Artist Designs. That is part of a Chesapeake Bay Treasures series. And so I pulled that out and wondered if I had them all. Turns out I don't. So I went online and grabbed the last one I didn't have. So this is a beautiful Seahorse Buddy. So this is number 5. I'm trying to remember what they all are. There's the crab that I'm currently working on. There's a horse, a swan, there's this one, and one other one. I don't remember what the other one is. Wonder if I have it. Easy to find here. Ah, it's a blue heron. So those are the 5 that she has done. So I just picked up the 5th one so that I have a full set. And I did get the full kit because I really like the colors that she puts together. I like the finishing fabric, so I just wanted to get everything all together. So that's everything it comes with. And so yeah, my stash is complete and I can't wait to finish my crafts so that I can move on to the next one. And I should note that I'm from outside of Baltimore, so that's why I just find this Chesapeake Bay series so cool, and I'm just very pleased to have these patterns. The other thing that I bought in January was a pre-order. I signed up for the Floral Doodle Sal put on by Lakeside Needlecraft. I almost didn't buy it because as beautiful as it is, I have so much black work in my stash and I only like working on one black work pattern at a time. And there are 2 botanically themed black work things coming out this year in Sal format. There's the Floral Doodle, and then there is the Steady Thread Botanical Blackwork Sal on Facebook. That's a free Sal. So I've been downloading that. And so since the Lakeside Needlecraft Sal was not free, I almost didn't get it because I was like, do I really need 2 botanically themed blackwork patterns in one year? Apparently I do. And you know what? I like them both so much. They're really not similar, even though they're both like floral and leafy. They're very different, and you know, they're just gonna sit in my stash until I get to them, and that's gonna be okay. But yeah, those were the things that I purchased in January. And that's pretty much all I have to show you. As for plans, I have the next thing that I pulled in my whip rotation is Huckleberry Farm, and that gets 1,500 stitches because that was a 2020 start. So that's what I'll be pulling for cross stitch next, but probably not for a little bit because I'm really focused on working on the Shaded Stitchery Sal, working on the data portraits in Paris. I didn't purchase it as a Sal, I already had it, but when she said that she was doing a Sal in February, I thought that was a perfect opportunity to start it. And so I have been working on it. I'm not going to show you now. I'll show you in my next month's Flosstube, but that is taking a lot of my cross stitch focus for the month of February, but I'm really enjoying working on it. I also bought a book about the W.E.B. Dubois, I don't know how you say his name, data portraits, and so I've been reading about them because, you know, I'm me and I'm nerdy, and if I'm gonna stitch a bunch of charts, I want to know what they mean. So I'm really enjoying learning about those. And so yeah, and then my Do Stuff rotation, the next thing I pulled on there was to do a puzzle. So I'm going to be pulling out a puzzle next week, and I'll probably be posting my progress on Instagram for you to see. I don't know if I'll finish it in that 2-week stretch or if I'll just pull it out and have it sit on my kitchen table for weeks. I don't know, but I'm definitely going to pull it out and work on it. And so I just have to pick which puzzle. So yeah, that's what I got going on coming up. It was great to check in with you. I'm hoping to keep these updates as regular as possible. You know, I can never make promises with the busy life that I lead, but I'm gonna do my best. And I'll see you next time. Thanks for hanging out with me.